We have seen Shedeur Sanders take second-team reps before, but today, interestingly, at least during one move-the-ball period, and it was really one of the first move-the-ball periods that we've seen, the Browns actually had Shedeur Sanders go ahead of Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's earned it, and I think we've all seen that. He's done a really, really nice job with all of the things that the Browns have given him to do so far.
Big news out of Cleveland. Things have taken quite a turn. Mary Kay Cabot, who used to be one of Shedeur Sanders' biggest critics, is now giving him credit where it's due. She recently shared that Shedeur has officially moved up to take first-team reps at training camp, ahead of Dillon. According to Cabot, Shedeur didn't just land the spot, he genuinely earned it, showing real improvement and skill. This is a big shift in how Shedeur is being talked about, and it really speaks to his hard work and focus. Cabot now says he's no longer just a rookie backup, he's a real contender for the starting QB job. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has reportedly approved Shedeur for those first-team reps, which are expected to start next month. It's a big step forward, and a clear sign that Shedeur is ready to compete at the top level. As we get closer to the season, all eyes will be on Shedeur to see if he can lock in that starting role. But it wasn't always this way. Back during minicamp and OTAs, Cabot was one of his toughest critics. She constantly labeled him as a fourth-team quarterback and argued that he wasn't getting the reps he needed to show what he could do. For a while, she seemed like one of the only media figures not sold on his potential. While most of the coverage was backing Shedeur, Cabot stood firm in her doubts about whether he was truly ready.
The way it played out yesterday is the way that I thought it would, is that Shedeur right now is the fourth-team quarterback. He did not take any team reps yesterday. Sometimes there's misinformation that comes out of an OTA like that, but he just did not take any team reps. And not just that he wasn't the second guy or the first guy, he didn't take any 11-on-11s yesterday.
At one point, Mary Kay Cabot even claimed that Cleveland wasn't setting up Shedeur Sanders to compete for the starting role. In her view, Shedeur wasn't in line to start any preseason games, at least not yet. While he was holding it down with the fourth-team offense, Cabot highlighted that he wasn't being prepped the same way as Dillon Gabriel or the more experienced Kenny Pickett. According to her, the coaching staff hadn't given Shedeur the go-ahead to practice with the first-team unit, leaving a lot of people wondering what his actual role on the team would be. At that stage, it was obvious Shedeur still had a lot to prove. When Cabot was pushing the idea that Shedeur was stuck as the fourth-string QB, plenty of people pushed back, and Kimberly A wasn't having it. When she was asked whether Shedeur had been buried on the depth chart, she didn't hesitate. Kimberly shut the notion down completely. She said flat out that there was no way you could seriously put him in that spot. Anyone who thought Shedeur was being overlooked, she said, was just getting it wrong. According to Kimberly, it wasn't just unlikely, it was straight up inaccurate to say he wasn't being noticed. His skill, presence, and the way he played made it impossible to ignore him.
He's as old as Harry, and you're sending him out there against these guys. I don't like anything about it.
Extension because it hurts the team every way you look at it.
And then finally, Kmart. If I said Cleveland, are they making a mistake burying Shedeur Sanders on their depth chart?
Greeny, I don't think he's buried at all. I think it's so premature to even frame it like this. I understand the interest given the fact that there are 4 quarterbacks there, but to say a disservice is being done to Shedeur, I think is a bit.
Mary Kay Cabot didn't just stop at calling Shedeur a fourth-string quarterback. She kept doubling down. She even floated the idea that Deshaun Watson could return and take the first-team reps instead of Shedeur. Her comments came across like she was trying to downplay any momentum Shedeur was building, insisting that Watson would likely have the better shot at running the offense. It started to feel like she was more focused on finding ways to discredit Shedeur than acknowledging his progress. Even with his clear potential and steady improvement, Cabot kept pushing a narrative that seemed more about keeping him out of the spotlight than giving him a fair shot.
People kind of went crazy over something I wrote last week, that Deshaun's going to have a chance to come in and compete. I didn't say Deshaun was going to come in and be the starting quarterback, that it will be someone else. I don't know if it will be a rookie that they bring in. I don't know if it will be someone that is on someone's roster right now that they're going to try to trade for.
Mary Kay Cabot didn't hold back when talking about Shedeur Sanders after his ticketing incident. She openly questioned whether he had what it takes to be a true quarterback, calling the situation a serious red flag. Cabot didn't just mention the speeding. She pointed out that Shedeur was going a shocking 40 miles over the limit. She even claimed he was racing another driver who was clocked at 92 miles per hour, describing the whole thing as reckless and dangerous. Her coverage left no room for interpretation. "This isn't what you want from your quarterback," she said, framing the incident as more than just a traffic mistake. It was, in her view, a sign of deeper concerns about his maturity and leadership. But Shedeur's fans weren't having it. The backlash came quickly and loudly. As the criticism piled up, Cabot eventually shut off her comments, clearly seeing that the narrative she'd been pushing was falling apart. She started to realize that sticking to her stance would only hurt her credibility, especially with Shedeur continuing to prove himself. Recognizing that it's okay to change course when the facts do, Cabot finally gave Shedeur his due. She acknowledged his obvious talent and the progress he's made, fully backing him now as a key part of the Browns' quarterback picture. After everything, she had to face the reality. Shedeur Sanders was the real deal. She admitted he had pulled ahead of Dillon Gabriel on the depth chart and was now getting first-team reps. The work Shedeur had put in, the strides he made, and the undeniable skill he showed on the field couldn't be ignored anymore. Cabot came to terms with what had become crystal clear. Shedeur was a serious contender for the starting quarterback job. His moment had arrived.
Seen Shedeur Sanders take second-team reps before, but today, interestingly, at least during one move-the-ball period, it was really one of the first move-the-ball periods that we've seen, the Browns actually had Shedeur Sanders go ahead of Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's earned it, and I think we've all seen that. He's done a really, really nice job with all of the things that the Browns have given him.
Mary Kay Cabot even went so far as to say that Shedeur Sanders had left a strong impression every time he spoke to the media. She pointed out how his poise and maturity during interviews only added to his rising reputation, stressing that the Browns were taking everything into account. According to her, Shedeur seemed to stand out above every other quarterback on the roster. It was becoming more and more obvious that his progress wasn't limited to just what he was doing on the field. He was also stepping up as a leader off of it. Her change in tone showed just how hard it was to ignore Shedeur's impact and the potential he was starting to reveal in every part of the game. Shedeur Sanders has now shown, without question, that his skill and drive are the real deal. Even Cabot, once one of his harshest critics, has come around. His development as a player, his ability to exceed expectations, and the way he carries himself in front of the media have all helped shift the conversation. He started out being dismissed as a fourth-string quarterback, but Shedeur kept pushing, eventually moving ahead of names like Dillon Gabriel. Through strong showings during minicamps, OTAS, and the lead up to the season, he's proven he's ready for the spotlight. And it's not just Mary Kay who's flipped her stance. A lot of people who once doubted him are now among his loudest supporters, giving him credit for the growth he's shown and the potential he brings to the team. Shedeur's rise has been all about resilience. He's turned criticism into motivation, and that dedication has earned him respect. His progress isn't just about football, it's also about the leadership and maturity he's displayed along the way. As Shedeur keeps growing, it's clear he's not just another rookie, he's on track to become a breakout star. What do you think? Has Shedeur truly earned his spot as a starting QB contender, or is there still more work to do? Was Mary Kay right to change her opinion, or should she have stuck with her original take? What do you think was the turning point that flipped the script for Shedeur? And do you believe this support he's getting will keep building as the season goes on?
Out there, I talked to Denzel Ward.
Yep.
I talked to some. Wait, let me. I didn't say the name. But anyway, I done talked to some people. He looked different. There's a difference when that young bull is out there spinning that ball. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Difference. I'm talking about football. I ain't talking about no media and all that hoopla and all them. On Twitter they putting up the numbers. Some he with 10 for 12 for 2 touchdowns. I'm talking about when he's at the helm, he looks different. Whether he's going with the first team, second team, or third team. It don't matter.
From being buried on the depth chart as a fourth stringer to suddenly becoming a standout on the second team, Shedeur Sanders just pulled off the most impressive quarterback comeback since Tom Brady made the world believe he wasn't finished at 40.
What is it going to take for you to just buy in to Shedeur Sanders when players all around him are telling you how different he looks, how good he looked, how he just has that aura to him? Because it seems like all the players that are around Shedeur Sanders have nothing but great things to say about him and love him. Because again, he clearly just looks different than the rest of the competition that we've seen. And like I said, the last time I've seen guys go for or say things about a certain player like that, it was Baker Mayfield. So could 12 be that guy? How long until we see 12? Because I feel like it's just a matter of...
The same haters who were cheering when he got dropped to fourth string are now scrambling for excuses faster than a glitchy Wi-Fi during the Super Bowl. Get ready, because this isn't just a step up on the depth chart. It's a serious reality check that's got the critics choking on their own words with a big helping of humble pie.
Being said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that game, and I'm like, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
Yep. Talking about Njoku there?
Joker, Mike Napier. Once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
The Cleveland Browns training camp just turned into the most talked about event in town. All thanks to Shedeur Sanders, who took his spot as fourth string and used it as motivation for one of the most impressive rises the NFL has seen in years. While everyone was busy counting him out and calling his career dead, Sanders was quietly putting together a performance so good that coaches are saying they haven't witnessed anything like it in the last 15 years.
Drafted in the 5th round, all that means nothing when it's time to play football and that whistle blows. He looks different than the rest of the competition. That's what I heard. And I'm talking from a, not Brother Ward, I'm just talking about from sources that's in that room, that's on that field, that's playing the sport. Man, come on, man.
Yep, coaches with decades of experience are honestly scratching their heads, trying to figure out how someone goes from being a practice squad afterthought to seriously competing for a starting spot in just a few weeks.
Thing is, they never planned on taking him. The problem is, like Ocho Cinco said, you got somebody that has endeared himself to the locker room. And guess what? The difference between him and Tim Tebow, the biggest one, is he can play. He can throw the ball. Tim Tebow running around being an H-back, he can throw the ball. And he's done everything he needs to do. He ain't saying nothing. He ain't rocking the boat. He ain't mad about the reps. He ain't mad about none of that. All the people out there want to see is this, like Tyler said earlier. We want to see what he can do with Jerry Jeudy.
That's it.
I want to see what he can do with David Njoku. I want to see him with Junkins. I want to see him with the first running backs. If you are cooking, if you are beating down the doors with the 3s and 4s, guess what? You deserve more. That was a bar. It rhymed. It was.
Remember when Mary Kay Cabot dropped that bombshell report saying Shedeur Sanders was the 4th string quarterback? The internet blew up faster than a Michael Bay explosion. Critics came out of nowhere, like ants at a picnic, rushing to call his NFL dreams dead on arrival. They claimed he was only shining against guys who'd either end up on practice squads or be out of the league by September. They pointed out he wasn't getting reps in 11-on-11 drills and said he needed to earn his way up the depth chart.
Dude, listen, the guy, all I can say is that he goes where the ball's supposed to go and it looks the way it's supposed to look. Mm-hmm. And when I hear that tells me it sounds like the Browns may have got a steal with Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, because I think he'll have a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be the starting quarterback in September, like week 1 or 2 or whatever it may be early in the year, but I think he's got a chance to develop into something that hopefully would preclude them from having to draft a quarterback first overall or top 5 next year.
He said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that game, and I'm like, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
Yep. You talking about Njoku there?
Joker, Mike Napier. Once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
Funny how the tables have turned. Those same critics are now watching Sanders climb the depth chart like he's scaling Mount Everest with rocket boosters. The guy they wrote off is now the one they can't stop paying attention to. Every completion sends a message. Every perfect throw is a reminder that real talent doesn't stay hidden forever. And with every practice, he's showing that maybe, just maybe, the Browns stumbled upon their hidden gem.
One thing for the fans to sit here and hype up Shedeur Sanders, because we all know how we get about certain players that we like. But it's another thing when you hear it from players who are actually on the field, who are actually in the locker room, who are actually next to this guy every single day. Because I'm sure we've all seen the quote by now by Chad Johnson when they were on the nightcap, and he talked to some young bulls. He talked to Denzel Ward. He didn't want to give away his name, but he already did it. And he said that Denzel Ward says he looks different from the rest of the competition. We've already been seeing.
When word got out that Shedeur Sanders officially moved up to second-team reps, passing Dillon Gabriel along the way, the shockwaves hit from Cleveland all the way to Canton. This wasn't just some small roster tweak, this was huge. One day he's throwing passes to practice squad guys, and the next he's running with the second team. putting real pressure on the starting quarterback spot. The promotion came after Sanders completely dominated minicamp, showing toughness, leadership, and total control on the field. His passes were right on target, hitting receivers in stride. His decision-making was sharp as a blade, and his grasp of the playbook had coaches nodding like proud parents at a school play. But this wasn't beginner's luck. It was steady, calculated execution that the coaching staff just couldn't ignore.
And I don't know, there was never no one thought he was this like malcontent or like a bag. It wasn't.
That was the word,
That was kind of what was being said. That was kind of what was being said.
No. The pre-draft process was so unorthodox that he didn't go through it all like everyone else did. And I think there's a lot that we can look back on this thing, especially if he becomes a star in this league and say, you could point fingers in a million ways. Not having a pure agent, not having the workouts that everyone else did, going to these teams, not necessarily being as willing to throw the ball when asked at the All-Star games, like that kind of stuff I think might have stung him and might have turned teams off. But
when Stephen A. Smith starts singing your praises, that's when you know you've officially arrived. The ESPN personality, famous for his fiery takes and no-nonsense analysis, didn't just mention Sanders. He gave him the full Stephen A. treatment. He praised Sanders not only for his top-tier football skills, but also for the intangibles that separate the good from the great. This kid's mindset puts him ahead of the pack, Stephen said, with the confidence of someone who's seen enough football to spot greatness from a mile away. He pointed out Sanders' composure, mental toughness, and relentless drive to compete at the highest level. When Stephen A. says, "It's not just about throws and stats anymore. You better believe the whole football world is paying attention."
But this stuff wasn't made up. I covered the draft for ESPN. I'm sitting on the desk. It's Shefty, it's Mel, it's me, it's Lewis. I heard some of the same things that DILLON Sanders is talking about. And S.A. and Kenton, you know this, we all have relationships. We all have people who tell us information, they help us prepare to do our job. I heard some of the same things. Some of these things weren't necessarily made up, at least I don't think, from the people that I
plan to have. Who will be the first quarterback game?
Shedeur. Yeah. Is Dillon Gabriel going to be like second quarter? He's out there because Flacco just needs a minute in the blue tent.
Yeah, that feels likely.
And if it's Shedeur Sanders and he starts balling,
then what?
Everything changes in a bat of an eye.
Yeah.
He's going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day. He's saying all the right things, trying to elevate his level of play. And remember, up until this past weekend, we did think there was a legitimate argument that he should have been higher on the depth chart than Dillon Gabriel because he performed better against Carolina than Dillon Gabriel had performed in the preseason game against the Eagles. It's just that obviously he nosedived over this last week, and so the tenor of the conversation changed. He really hasn't done it. I mean, he hasn't gotten in any trouble. I mean, he hasn't been saying the wrong things. He hasn't been a less than a model citizen focused on, being the best that he can be. He hasn't done anything. So I think that when we look at it, he's going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day.
Kevin Stefanski made it clear that Shedeur Sanders will keep getting opportunities regardless of any new additions, identifying him as the club's emergency option moving forward. That stance set off fresh debate. If the Browns didn't plan to lean on Bailey Zappi, why bring him in at all? Zappi wasn't signed to be the starter. He's roster insurance, a safety net if the season throws a curveball. In practice, this points to Shedeur remaining the next man up at quarterback 1 if circumstances demand it. Cleveland's decision to add Bailey Zappi looks like a depth play, rather than a push to crown a new starter. It's a precaution meant to reduce the risk of getting thin at quarterback over a long season. By signing Zappi, the Browns keep their options open without committing to a full reset at the position. The move isn't about replacing Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel. It's about maintaining coverage in case injuries or other issues hit the room. Overall, the message is simple. Shedeur stays in the primary development and contingency lane, while Zappi provides stability and flexibility behind the scenes.
I like the fact that they have him there. I think he'll be good in practice. He'll be good for some of those younger guys in helping them to prepare for a game and whatnot.
The Browns added Bailey Zappi primarily to steady the room and support their young quarterbacks this season. According to Mary Kay Cabot, his day-to-day will center on helping install weekly game plans, getting the QBs ready for opponents, and being prepared to step in if injuries hit. Cabot also noted he could become a quietly valuable piece. At the same time, The move may hint that Dillon Gabriel is drawing trade interest. Several teams are reportedly checking in, especially after Kenny Pickett's recent deal. With Gabriel in the spotlight, speculation is growing that Shedeur Sanders could be only a few games from settling in as the number 2, creating a real opening for him. Stephen A. Smith weighed in as well, emphasizing Sanders' steady climb and the momentum he's built. He argued that even before the latest preseason outing, Sanders had effectively moved ahead of Gabriel on the depth chart. Aside from a brief stumble last week, Smith said, Sanders has kept stacking positives, communicating cleanly with teammates, and staying locked on development. In his view, the Browns recognize Sanders' upside and are banking on continued growth as he evolves into a more impactful presence in the near future.
He really hasn't done any. I mean, he hasn't gotten in any trouble. I mean, he hasn't been saying the wrong things. He hasn't been a less than a model citizen focused on, being the best that he can be. He hasn't done anything. So I think that when we look at it, he's going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day.
Stephen A. Smith underscored Shedeur Sanders' steady rise, emphasizing the real momentum behind his development. He said that even before the most recent preseason game, it was apparent Sanders had edged ahead of Dillon Gabriel on the depth chart. Smith added that, aside from a brief setback last week, Sanders has remained unbeaten, strengthened his communication with teammates, and is fully locked in on refining his craft. In Smith's view, the Browns clearly recognize Sanders' immense upside and are counting on him to keep growing into a more impactful, commanding presence as time goes on, a trajectory that reflects both his poise and the staff's increasing trust.
Going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day. He's saying all the right things, trying to elevate his level of play. And remember, up until this past weekend, we did think there was a legitimate argument that he should have been higher on the depth chart than Dillon Gabriel because he performed better against Carolina than Dillon Gabriel had performed in the preseason game against the Eagles. It's just that obviously he nosedived over this last week, and so the tenor of the conversation changed.
Stephen A. Smith's take lines up with head coach Kevin Stefanski's shifting approach to Shedeur Sanders. Lately, Stefanski has doubled down on developing Sanders and brushed off outside criticism. That's a notable change from earlier, when he downplayed concerns and offered sharper critiques. After the Kenny Pickett trade, the tone flipped. Sanders moved back into the spotlight with a real chance to prove himself. The timing matters, signaling the staff is ready to give him a genuine runway to show his upside.
I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better. And that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
Several analysts have weighed in on Shedeur Sanders' push for the QB2 job, and many point to Dillon Gabriel's size as a potential long-term hurdle to holding that role. Mike Tannenbaum praised Gabriel's calm, efficient preseason, and acknowledged his skill, but he also flagged height as a meaningful disadvantage at the NFL level, one that could make a trade scenario more realistic. Talent and mechanics matter, he noted, yet measurable limitations can be hard to mask over a full season, which might jeopardize Gabriel's grip on the backup spot and prompt teams to explore moves. Nick Wright echoed a similar theme. He credited Gabriel's ability and upside, but didn't sidestep the obvious constraint: size. Wright argued that while Gabriel can sharpen decision-making and accuracy, he can't change his frame, and that physical profile may complicate his path to becoming a steady NFL starter. By contrast, when stacked against Shedeur Sanders, who brings broader physical tools and a higher developmental ceiling, the gap becomes clearer. That comparison highlights the specific challenges Gabriel must overcome, and why momentum may be tilting toward Sanders for the QB2 role.
Gabriel, who, through no fault of his own, commits one of my cardinal sins of quarterbacking, which is he's tiny. And so, he's tiny.
Mike Florio, senior NFL analyst, weighed in on the Browns' internal debate and suggested the team is seriously considering moving Dillon Gabriel. He cautioned that dealing Gabriel could thin out the quarterback competition, but he also framed it as a strong opening for Shedeur Sanders to step forward. With added reps and visibility, Sanders could make a real impression and lock himself in as a valuable QB2 option for a team that needs stability behind its starter. Florio also noted that after Kenny Pickett's departure, Cleveland may be even more inclined to explore a Gabriel trade. By contrast, Sanders is essentially off-limits in his view because of his massive fan base and the public blowback a trade would trigger. With the conversation getting louder, Florio believes moving Sanders would do more harm than good for the organization's relationship with its supporters. That's why Gabriel stands out as the more likely trade candidate as the Browns try to manage depth, keep momentum, and stay aligned with their fans.
This is one of the natural and foreseeable byproducts
of drafting him. He comes to town with a built-in fan base. The mouth breathers, as you call them, are in tow. Not that I called them that, but you called them that. They're there.
Rich Eisen weighed in on Cleveland's situation, saying that if Dillon Gabriel is moved and Shedeur Sanders slides into the QB2 role, it's likely only a matter of time before he's starting later in the year. Eisen argued that the promotion would give Sanders the runway to cement himself, and he's confident Sanders is on track to become QB1 at some point this season. The momentum is clearly tilting towards Sanders, positioning him to take over when the opportunity presents itself. Big picture, Kevin Stefanski's message that Shedeur Sanders is the next man up if anything happens to Joe Flacco is just one part of a broader shift. Factor in Sanders' steady growth, the coaching staff's evolving view, and the ongoing chatter about Gabriel's future, and it's clear Sanders isn't being framed as a mere emergency option. He's a real contender for QB1. If Gabriel is dealt, that could be the final push that quiets the doubts and locks in Sanders as the Browns' future at the position, signaling a fresh chapter for the team. What's your read on Cleveland leaning towards Shedeur Sanders as a potential QB1? Would a Dillon Gabriel trade seal it? Or do you see a path where Gabriel still takes on a bigger role? How do you expect the battle among Sanders, Gabriel, and Joe Flacco to unfold? And what does it mean for the Browns going forward? Share your take. I'm curious where you land.